Look at the different parts. We can broadly divide our brain into three parts. The forebrain, which is this big yellow section, the midbrain, which is this tiny pink section, and the hindbrain, or the lower brain, which is this blue section. Usually when we say humans have big brain, we're basically talking about this forebrain section, okay? And then the midbrain is actually the beginning part of the brain stem. Brain stem is on top of which the forebrain sits. The brain stem connects the forebrain to the spinal cord. This continues as the spinal cord. So the beginning section of that brain stem is what we call as the midbrain. And then the later section of the brain stem is a part of the hindbrain, right? This is the hindbrain. And the hindbrain also consists of this section. You know, this itself looks like a mini brain all by itself, but that and the remaining portion of that brain stem is basically what we call the hindbrain. Okay, so what are the functions of them? Before we get into the details, to get a broad sense of what these parts do, we can think that the forebrain is responsible for all the voluntary functions, and the midbrain and the hindbrain together are responsible for all the involuntary functions. So when I say voluntary, think about all the actions that you carry out consciously by thinking about them, like to take a walk, or maybe to talk to someone, or decide to watch this video about brains. So all of that is from your forebrain. And of course, we'll talk more details about that in a second. And when I say involuntary functions, there are some functions that are happening in your body which are not in control, which you're not in control of. For example, your heart beating, or maybe your digestion. You're not in control of those, right? So those are mostly taken care by your midbrain and the hindbrain. So how do we remember which part does which? Well, the way I like to think about it is I remember that, what makes humans special is their big brain, big forebrain. And I remember that we have this amazing intellectual ability, right? Our intelligence. So forebrain gives us our intelligence. So it's because of that I can do all my thinking and all my decisions, and also I can walk and talk because of this. So that's how I basically remember forebrain controls voluntary actions. With this in mind, let's look at the functions and the parts in a little bit more detail. So let's zoom out a little bit. We're not going to look at the parts of the midbrain. It's a tiny section. We'll not look at its parts. So let's jump directly to the hindbrain. If you look at this brain stem over here, the bluer section, you can actually see two distinct regions over there. So one region, one lump over here, and one more here, right? So this one, let me use a different color. Right, so this one over here, it's called pons. That's the name given to it, pons. Again, I know, little weird name. It's Latin, again, it means bridge. It's kind of like bridging between the middle brain and this bottom part. That brings us to this bottom part, which is pretty important for us. The bottom one is called, let me write that down right here. It's called medulla oblongata. Okay, we're gonna look at its functions separately. And then you can look at this big region. Let's make it dark so we can see that. So this region, which kind of looks like a brain on its own, is called cerebellum. Do not confuse that with cerebrum. Cerebrum is the biggest part of our brain. Cerebellum, that's the name given to this. So these three regions are going to be the part of our hindbrain. So these are hindbrain. And since we're not going to look at the parts of the midbrain, this is it. This is all the parts that we need to remember. So again, what are the functions of the hindbrain? We already saw it's involuntary, but let's look at the individual one. Let's look at medulla oblongata and the cerebellum. These two are important for us. So what does the medulla oblongata do? Well, again, it controls most of the life-giving involuntary processes. Okay, so we'll say life-giving involuntary processes. I'll just write involve, okay? involuntary processes. That means these are the most essential for life, like your heart beating, your breathing, digestion, all of those essential things are taken care by your medulla oblongata. Along with that, it also controls some of your reflexes. Now, if you've studied about reflexes before, you may be wondering, hey, isn't that controlled by your spinal cord? Yes, some of them are controlled by the spinal cord, but some of the reflexes, like your sneezing, coughing, those are controlled by your medulla oblongata, all right? The idea is the reflexes are not controlled by your thinking part of the brain. None of the reflexes are controlled by the forebrain. That's why they're even called reflexes. But the medulla does control some of your reflexes as well. So these are the two major functions of the medulla. Okay, what about the cerebellum? It's getting a little crowded. I hope you can see them apart. So again, I'm going to put some division over here. Anyways, so what does cerebellum do? Well, cerebellum also has some involuntary functions, but it's a little different. One of its function is to maintain balance. Balance. Now, what I mean by this is, if you want to do even the simplest of the simplest tasks, like walking or maybe holding a cup, these things requires careful calculation, coordination. You have to think about where the gravity is and all of those stuff, right? If you try to build a robot, it's then you actually see how complicated those things are. But we do it with ease. That's because of our cerebellum, because it is the one that maintains balance. And along with that, another major function is motor memory. Motor memory. What's that? Well, think of riding a bicycle. With the first time when you were trying to learn the bicycle, you were using a lot of your forebrain. You were learning. You were learning to get balance. You were learning how the pedal works. You were learning maybe how to do the tring and everything. All those things you're learning. But once you learned that, once you have done enough practice, now when you want to ride your bicycle, you don't even think about it. We say it has become our second nature, right? All of things happen automatically. How? It's the cerebellum. That's what we call as motor memory. Another example could be, let's say when you're typing on a keyboard, if you have enough practice, you don't have to look down anymore. You don't have to worry about which keys are where. It just automatically happens. Motor memory. So all those things are controlled by the cerebellum. And you know how I can remember this? I remember this by remembering that, when people drink alcohol, it's their cerebellum that gets affected. Think about it. If your cerebellum gets affected, your balance gets affected. And that's why people who are intoxicated, they can't balance themselves. They will be walking funny and everything. They may no longer be in a position to ride a bicycle. This is actually one of the reasons why we say don't drink and drive, because your motor memory gets affected. So even the most basic things that usually we think it's easy for us to do, like while driving, that gets affected. All right, so that's how I remember the functions of the cerebellum. All right, so finally you may be wondering, what about the midbrain? So this is our midbrain, right? We're now going to look at the parts of the midbrain. Midbrain also controls some of the involuntary functions. For example, when you shine light in your eyes, your pupils become smaller. That is controlled by your midbrain. So the midbrain also controls some of your involuntary functions, but we're not going to look at that. And this is pretty much it for us. Now, since this screen itself contains the entire summary, why don't you try pausing the video and then revise and then see if you can recall all the parts and the functions without looking.
Selanjutnya, apa sih fungsi dari medula spinalis ini? Jadi, sebenarnya medula spinalis ini memiliki 3 fungsi yang sangat penting dalam mengontrol dan mengordinasikan tubuh manusia. Ketiga fungsi sumsum tulang belakang tersebut adalah yang pertama, mengontrol sensasi, yang kedua, mengontrol gerak motorik dan kerja organ, kemudian yang ketiga adalah gerak refleks. Nah, mari kita bahas. Nah, fungsi yang pertama, mengontrol sensasi. Salah satu fungsi dari medula spinalis adalah mengumpulkan dan membawa sinyal atau informasi sensorik yang diterima dari anggota tubuh atau organ indera menuju ke otak. Sinyal atau informasi tersebut bisa berupa sensasi sentuhan, tekanan, suhu, baik itu suhu panas atau dingin, dan rasa nyeri. Selanjutnya, informasi ini kemudian akan diproses oleh otak untuk memberikan respon. Fungsi yang kedua adalah mengontrol gerak, dalam hal ini gerak motorik dan kerja organ. Nah, selain ke otak, Medula spinalis ini juga berfungsi membawa sinyal atau informasi dari otak ke otot atau organ tubuh tertentu. Informasi ini bisa disampaikan ke otot tangan, lengan, jari, tungkai kaki, atau bagian tubuh lainnya untuk mengontrol gerak. Dalam hal ini gerak motorik tentunya. Sebagai contoh misalnya, ketika Anda ingin berjalan, maka sumsum tulang belakang membawa informasi dari otak ke otot kaki dan memerintahkannya untuk melangkah secara berulang. Selain itu, sinyal atau informasi juga bisa dibawa ke jantung, paru-paru, atau organ tubuh lainnya untuk menjalankan fungsi otonom seperti mengontrol detak jantung, bernapas, tekanan darah, dan lain sebagainya. Selanjutnya, fungsi yang ketiga adalah gerak refleks. Medula spinalis ini juga berperan dalam mengontrol gerakan-gerakan refleks pada tubuh manusia. Pada gerak refleks, impuls melalui jalan pendek atau pintas, yaitu artinya tanpa diolah terlebih dahulu oleh otak kita. Salah satu contohnya, misalnya, gerak refleks pada lutut yang tiba-tiba tersentak saat diketuk di titik-titik tertentu. Pada gerak refleks lutut, neuron sensorik secara langsung akan terhubung ke neuron motorik di medula spinalis tanpa diproses terlebih dahulu di otak. Oleh karena itu, proses ini memberikan respon yang lebih cepat dari gerak motorik pada umumnya. Nah, bila medula spinalis ini dipotong secara horizontal, maka akan terdapat beberapa bagian di dalamnya yang memiliki fungsi yang berbeda-beda. Berikut ini merupakan beberapa bagian atau anatomi dari sumsum tulang belakang atau medula spinalis tersebut. Nah, jadi perlu kalian tahu bahwa sumsum tulang belakang itu memiliki bagian yang berwarna abu-abu dan berwarna putih tentunya. Mari kita bahas satu persatu bagian ini. Yang pertama kita mulai membahas bagian gray matter atau bagian abu-abu. Jadi, bagian dalam atau medula itu berwarna abu-abu, makanya disebut juga sebagai substansi grisea atau bagian abu-abu yang membentuk huruf H. Gray matter itu merupakan bagian gelap berwarna abu-abu dan memiliki bentuk seperti kupu-kupu yang berada di dalam sumsum tulang belakang kita. Bagian sumsum tulang belakang ini berwarna abu-abu itu karena tidak diselaputi mielin yang merupakan zat lemak. Nah, bagian ini tersusun dari badan sel saraf atau neuron dan neuroglia, dendrit dan serabut saraf, serta memiliki 4 sayap yang disebut dengan tanduk. 2 tanduk yang berada di depan itu dinamakan tanduk anterior atau ventral, itu mengandung sel saraf atau neuron motorik yang berfungsi untuk membawa informasi dari otak dan medula spinalis ke otot tubuh untuk merangsang pergerakannya. Sementara 2 tanduk yang berada di belakang atau bagian tanduk posterior atau dorsal itu membawa informasi sensorik seperti sentuhan, tekanan, atau rasa sakit dari tubuh kembali ke medula spinalis dan otak. Selain itu, sebenarnya ada pula yang disebut dengan tanduk lateral dan kolom intermediate yang berperan dalam sistem saraf otonom. Meskipun demikian, tanduk lateral itu hanya ditemukan di beberapa area sumsum tulang belakang, yaitu bagian toraks, lumbal bagian atas, dan sakral. Nah, tadi kita sudah membahas terkait dengan gray matter atau bagian abu-abu. Sekarang kita membahas white matter atau bagian yang berwarna putih. Nah, perlu kalian tahu bahwa bagian luar atau korteks sumsum tulang belakang yang berwarna putih itu disebut juga sebagai substansia alba. Gray matter di dalam medula spinalis itu terbungkus oleh bagian yang berwarna putih yang disebut dengan white matter. Bagian putih itu merupakan jalur serabut saraf atau kumpulan neurit yang bermielin. Bagian ini itu berisi akson yang memungkinkan berbagai bagian sumsum tulang belakang untuk berkomunikasi dengan baik dan lancar. Nah, akson ini bergerak ke dua arah. Perlu kalian tahu bahwa beberapa akson yang mengarah naik itu berfungsi untuk membawa sinyal dari tubuh ke otak. Sedangkan akson yang turun itu mengirimkan sinyal dari otak ke neuron yang terletak di bagian lain dari tubuh kita. Nah, sama seperti gray matter, white matter juga dipisahkan menjadi beberapa bagian yang disebut dengan kolom. Keempat bagian tersebut yaitu ada kolom posterior, itu letaknya di antara dua tanduk posterior. Selanjutnya ada kolom anterior, itu letaknya di antara dua tanduk anterior. Dan ada kolom lateral, itu letaknya di antara tanduk posterior dan akson dari neuron tanduk anterior. Nah, kolom posterior itu terdiri dari akson yang mengarah ke atas atau naik. Sedangkan kolom anterior dan lateral itu terdiri dari banyak kelompok akson yang berbeda-beda dari saluran yang naik dan turun, termasuk yang mengontrol sistem saraf perifer atau tepi. Nah, sekarang kita masuk ke bagian saraf tulang belakang. Jadi, pada masing-masing bagian sumsum tulang belakang, yaitu pada bagian servikal, toraks, lumbal, dan sakral, itu memiliki akar saraf yang muncul di bagian kanan dan kirinya. Nah, akar-akar saraf ini nantinya terdiri dari akar saraf ventral pada bagian anterior yang mengandung neuron motorik, serta akar saraf dorsal pada bagian posterior yang mengandung neuron sensorik. Kedua macam akar saraf tersebut kemudian bersatu dan membentuk saraf tulang belakang. Nah, perlu kalian tahu bahwa terdapat 31 pasang saraf tulang belakang yang terbagi ke dalam 5 bagian, yaitu 8 pasang saraf di bagian servikal atau leher, 12 pasang saraf di toraks di bagian dada, 5 pasang saraf di lumbal pada bagian perut, dan 5 pasang saraf di bagian sakral atau panggul, serta 1 pasang saraf lagi di yang berada di ruas tulang ekor atau koksigeal. Nah, saraf-saraf tulang belakang inilah yang kemudian menghubungkan sumsum tulang belakang dengan berbagai bagian di tubuh, serta menghantarkan impuls ke dan dari otak melalui medula spinalis ke lokasi tubuh tertentu.